Okay, so let's get started. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this afternoon for our webinar, How to Pay for Graduate School at York University. Today's session will be recorded, and we'll be sharing it with everyone who registered um, in about 5 to 10 business days. Today's session is being presented by several units within the Faculty of Graduate Studies. So we have recruitment, finance and funding, and scholarships and awards. About halfway through the presentation, we will be sharing the slides in PDF form in the chat about halfway through, and we will include, or we have included, clickable links as well as contact emails for various points of contact. So that'll happen again about halfway through the presentation in the chat. You are more than welcome to put your questions in the Q&A. However, please know that a lot of the content usually covers people's questions. So if you wanted to wait until halfway, 3/4 of the way through, we will be doing an open Q&A at the end. But yes, all questions can go in the Q&A. So for what we'll be covering today, our main sources of financial support at the university are funding packages, scholarships, and other, which is basically a combination of bursaries or loans or other non-employment or employment opportunities. So now, speaking of funding, I'll turn it over to Dimitri to present the funding portion. Take it away, Dimitri.
All right. Can everyone hear me? All right, let's begin. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dimitri Katzman. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate Funding and Planning. And in this segment, I'm going to talk about the standard funding packages that are granted to graduate students at York. Next slide, please. Okay, so York offers many eligible for funding graduate programs where all the applicants are automatically considered for a funding package. And most full-time domestic graduate students receive those packages, and also many full-time international students receive it as well. Now, the funding packages, the amounts differ from program to program, and also whether you domestic or international student. And if you're not sure and you want to find out how much exactly you will be getting, you can find this information in your admission letter, which can be found in My File section of York website. If, for example, there's no information about any funding, it means that you are admitted as an unfunded student to your program. And there are two types of funding components in the package. So one is all the granted funding, so all the funding that you receive automatically by being admitted as a funded student. And the second type is earned funding, the funding that you would earn by working as a teaching assistant, graduate assistant, or research assistant. Next slide, please. So first, we're gonna talk a little bit about the granted component. So we have four types of granted funding. So your graduate fellowship and faculty enhanced funding, those components you would receive throughout the full program or throughout the full funded term of your program. And I will explain later what it means. And your graduate fellowship you would receive automatically as a funded graduate student, and faculty enhanced funding you would receive only in certain select programs, which are trying to attract higher quality candidates to their specific program. And then we have entrance scholarship. So this component is given to you only for the first year. And it's only given to applicants with high marks, with high grades when they applied. And health bursaries are given to all funded students. And this is basically coverage of your extended health insurance payments, or for international students, it covers their UHIP payments. So the UHIP, which is the equivalent of OHIP, the basic health coverage, but for international students. Okay, so let's continue to the next slide and review the earned funding component. So for the employment, we have three types of earned funding components: teaching assistant, graduate assistant, and research assistant. And now let me explain a little bit about each one so you understand the differences between them. So first one, teaching assistant is the most common type of employment for graduate students. This type of employment is classified as Unit 1 under the QP collective agreement. So it comes with certain stipulations and restrictions that are in the collective agreement. So for example, you can only work up to 135 hours per term. And each type of teaching assistantship classification has a stipulated rate which cannot be changed. And there's a whole table of different rates, which you can research later if you're interested to know the differences. And usually it would be any work that is related to teaching, marking, demonstrating, and tutoring as part of a specific undergrad course. And this job is considered a regular employment in York, so it's taxed, your income is taxed as a regular employment, and you also receive vacation days and benefits. Specifically, you receive a Sun Life package to cover your extended benefits. Okay, the next component is graduate assistant. So this one is similar to teaching assistant. It's also part of the QP collective agreement under Unit 3. So it has similar limitations, but different rate. And it relates to administrative, clerical, and research work. And as teaching assistant, this income is also considered a regular employment, so you will receive a Sun Life package for your extended benefits, and your income will be taxed and will appear on your T4 statement every year that you work as a graduate assistant. And the last classification is the research assistant, which is very different from the other two that I mentioned. So first of all, it's not considered a regular employment. It's not part of any collective agreement. So there are no specific limitations or stipulations related to this work. And it really depends on the budgetary restrictions of the researcher that hired you for this role. So specifically, how big is their grant and how much of that grant they are willing to allocate to pay you for the research assistantship. And because this is not considered a regular employment, there is no vacation benefits, there is no Sun Life package, but also this money that you will receive is not taxed. And this work has to be specifically related to the subject matter of your studies, and it's supposed to help you progress towards your graduation requirements. So this is a very important component of the research assistantship. So these are the three types of employment opportunities that you will receive by being admitted as a graduate funded student and full-time registered student. So this is very important to understand. Okay, so let's continue to our next slide. Now let's review some very standard examples of those packages. And of course, because I said that every program has certain variations between them, these are the bare minimum amounts in most cases. So in some cases, you may receive a little bit extra here and there. You may receive some entrance scholarship. You may receive slightly lower or higher TA-ship. So right now we're just reviewing very standard cases that fit in many situations, but it could be different from your specific package amount. So for the typical master's program of 1 year, domestic student will receive 10,000 for the full program, for all 3 terms, and international student would receive 24,500. And as you can see, for the international students, we have the faculty enhanced funding component as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide. In this case, we have a longer master's programs, so programs that go for 2 years. So in those programs, in most cases, you would have an employment component in the package, which means that you will be able to work as a teaching assistant or graduate assistant. And as you can see, the domestic student would receive almost 54,000 for the full program, and the international would receive almost 85,000. Okay, let's continue to the next slide. And this is the PhD package. So one important difference between the PhD package and the master's package is that it shows you the annual amount which you will receive in PhD from 1 year to year 5. So for 5 years, this is the annual amount that you will receive in the total. And as you can see, all the PhD programs, they have an employment component in their funding package. So the domestic student would receive almost 27,000 each of the 5 years, and the international student would receive 39,000 of each of 5 years, respectively. And of course, in some faculties and in some specific programs, you would have a combination of TA-ship and research assistantship, and in others, you will just have TA-ship alone. Um, and one important thing is I'm sure you noticed that the international packages, they are much higher than the domestic ones. And the main reason is that because the tuition fee, the international tuition fee is much higher than the domestic fee. So York helps to cover this gap for international students. Okay, so let's continue to the next slide. Um, so now after we covered all the basics of standard funding packages, of course, I invite you to follow the links on the slides and to investigate further into all the different variations and details. And before we move on to the next segment of the presentation, I would like to reiterate a certain points that always confused many students. So first one, funding is not application based. So it means that you do not need to apply separately for the standard funding package in your program. You are automatically considered for it during your admission phase. Second one, funding is not a loan. So this is not like OSAP or any other loans that are given to the students. This money is given to you, and some of it goes to cover the program fees of your program, and whatever remains can be refunded to your bank account for your personal use, and you never need to return this money, just so everyone is clear about this point. The next point is funding is not based on financial needs. So when you considered during your application phase, during your admission, when you considered for a program, we don't look at your financial situation during this phase of the process. This is based on the overall quality of your candidacy, not specifically on your financial need. And you have to understand that York has a lot of other tools and awards and bursaries related to specifically to financial situation of a student, but this is not one of them. And the last point that kind of touches on the previous one, that funding is not the only form of financial support available to graduate students at York. So once you become a registered active full-time student at York, you will have access to a lot of different options of awards, bursaries, scholarships, which you can review and check if you're eligible. And about the details of all these other opportunities, My colleague Judy will talk in the next segment. So we're done. That's it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the workshop and congratulations for joining us at York in the upcoming academic year. My name is Judy C. I am one of the research officers at the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and my role is to oversee the scholarship process for internal and external awards for our graduate students. Next slide, please. So the types of scholarships that are available to graduate students at York University vary. We've got entrance awards, and normally students do not apply for entrance awards. They are usually nominated by the graduate program. We've got current graduate students. We've got Tri-Council Awards. The Tri-Council Award program is a, a number of awards combined into one category called Tri-Council Awards. These are funded by the federal government of Canada. And then we've got other external scholarships. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, for entrance awards, generally speaking, students don't need to apply for them. They are automatically considered when the graduate program is reviewing their admissions package. So when they receive a admissions offer, they would be notified of certain entrance awards that they may be offered. We've got the York Graduate Scholarship. We've got the Elias Scholars Program. This is only open to doctoral students. It's valued at $35,000 per year for up to 4 years. And we normally offer 3 of these awards per year. We've got the Chancellor Bennett Master's and Doctoral Scholarships for Liberal Arts. And this is offered to one student at a value of $20,000. And then we've got the GFAD, which is short for the Graduate Fellowship for Academic Distinction Award. And it is offered to master's and doctoral students. They have a different value for each level of study. We've got 16K for up to 2 years for master's students and up to $26,000 for up to 3 years for doctoral students. And then the program may offer program-based entrance scholarships based on the funding that they have available. As mentioned, students are automatically considered for these awards, and they are usually notified at the time of their admission decision about whether or not they will receive these awards. Next slide, please. For current students, we offer maybe around 100 scholarships. They come from a varying number of sources. So firstly, we've got the internal awards that are usually donor funded. This link here that you guys will have access to allows students to enter search criteria to see which awards that they are eligible for. We always encourage students to apply for awards if they're eligible. You often don't know what's going to happen, so it is certainly within your best interest to apply if you're eligible. These awards can vary based on the funder's requests. So we've got some awards open to part-time students, full-time students, only MA, only PhD, certain areas of study, certain demographic profiles of the researcher, and so forth. And then we've got the Academic Excellence Fund. The Academic Excellence Fund is open to all research-based master's and doctoral students, and it's a pocket of funds to support research activities. And we also have other smaller pockets of funds for research support from varying sources. So for instance, we have travel funds available for students doing fieldwork or creating linkages between other institutions abroad. Next slide, please. This is an overview of the Tri-Council Awards program. So as mentioned, the Tri-Council program is is a collection of awards funded by the federal government, so the government of Canada. They offer an award for master's students and doctoral students. Each year, they disperse millions of dollars of funding. I think at York University alone, we disperse about 11 to $17 million per year. At the master's level, there is one application portal for all students, which is called Research Portal. And to be eligible, you would need to be a full-time domestic student in a research-based program, and holding it in a eligible Canadian institution, which York University most certainly is. And you must not have completed more than 12 months of full-time master's studies as of December 31st, 2026. And you'll notice that the deadline is kind of funny. So the deadline is at the end of the year. And because it's a federal program, the processing of this award and review and adjudication of this award takes months and months and months. And the expectation is for you to hold it in the 2027 to 28 academic year. So you would be applying, if you were in a 2-year master's program, you would be applying in your first year in the hopes of you will be carrying it in, you will be holding the award in the following academic year, so 2027 to 2028 academic year. For doctoral students, there are federal scholarships available to you. They are funded by CIHR, NSERC, or SSHRC. It sounds like a mouthful, but it's very straightforward. CIHR stands for the Canadian Institute of Health Research. So it's for students that are conducting research in health. And then NSERC is the National Council for Sciences and Engineering. So students that are conducting research in science and engineering will be submitting their application through this portal. And students in social sciences, they will be submitting their application through SSHRC. To be eligible, you would need to be either a domestic or international full-time research-based student in a eligible doctoral program, and must not have completed more than 36 months of studies as of December 2026. For students submitting applications under the federal programs, so the Tri-Council program, if you don't know what area your research falls under, we heavily suggest students to review this page at the bottom of the slide to confirm which agency, so CIHR, NSERC, or SSHRC, they would be submitting their application under. And this is because these agencies are responsible for research conducted under specific research areas. So for instance, if you're doing health-based research, the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council is not permitted to fund health research. Next slide, please. So here's more information about the master's level program offered by the Tri-Council. It's called the Canada Graduate Scholarships Master. So in short, we call it CGRSM. The value is $27,000 over 1 year, and it's dispersed over 3 academic terms. So that would be $9,000 per term. The duration is, as mentioned, 1 year over 3 terms. The deadline is December 1, 2026. And there's a small typo here. The award would start in May 2027 or September 2027. There's one application portal for all master's students, and it's called Research Portal. And here we have these are information pages that give you instructions on how to submit your application and how to submit a strong application, the evaluation criteria, and any agency-specific contact information you might need. I've provided the website from the Tri-Agency as well as the York internal information page we have created for York internal applicants. Next slide, please. The selection criteria for the CGRSM program is as follows. It covers It is intended to fund the top master students nationally. So 50% of the evaluation criteria is based on academic excellence. So the evaluators or the adjudicators will be looking at your past transcripts and your past academic accomplishments. So they would be looking at your grade point average, past scholarships and awards held, and 30% of the evaluation criteria will be based on your research potential. So they will be looking at the quality and the originality of your potential contributions to research, the significance, the feasibility, and the merit of the proposed research. They will also be looking at your judgment and critical thinking skills. And finally, 20% of the evaluation criteria will be looking at your personal characteristics and interpersonal skills. So this would be where the adjudicators will be looking at past work and or leadership experience or any involvement in academic life, volunteerism, or professional networks. This is just a brief overview of the evaluation criteria that the reviewers will be looking at. We suggest that students review the criteria very carefully on the above page so that they can build a very strong application. Next slide, please. The Tri-Council Doctoral Level Award is valued at $40,000 per year. It is usually offered at 3 years, and this award can only be held once in your lifetime, because of the value. The deadline to submit your application is early October of each academic year, and these applications go through 2 rounds of review. There is a first stage, which happens at the institutional level, and students will hear about their results at the institutional level in November. And then the final funding decision will be made by the appropriate research councils, so CIHR, NSERC, or SHRC, and the candidates will hear back about their final funding decision in spring of the following year. Normally, it is by May of the following year. As mentioned, there are separate application portals for each agency. So I've listed the websites here, and we also have a generic Tri-Council Doctoral Program page that has information that applies to all 3 of the agencies. And York University also offers a website just for our internal applicants. And it is an informational page that gives you specific institutional specific instructions on how to submit your application. Next slide, please. The evaluation criteria for the doctoral program is similar to the master's level, but it's just a bit more streamlined. So 50% of the evaluation criteria will be based on research ability and potential. So this would be the quality of the research proposed, past training and experience, any past research contributions, publications, presentations, and other research outputs, the enthusiasm for research, originality, initiative, and relevant community involvement, and your communication skills. So that would be how you communicate your proposed research in written and oral formats. I want to add a kind of like an asterisk. So in the evaluation criteria, there is mention of past publications, presentations, and or other outputs. I want to encourage students to apply even if they don't have that many research outputs, because you never know. And at York University, we will use your Tri-Council doctoral application to consider you for different awards as well. So we strongly, strongly encourage students to apply if eligible. And furthermore, you will learn a lot about this application process for you to submit a subsequent application in the following year. So just because you apply in your first year and you don't succeed, you are most certainly welcome to apply in the second and third year, so long as you remain eligible. Because as you recall, the eligibility criteria is not to have been registered in the doctoral program for more than 3 years. So you can apply for your first, second, and third doctoral years. The final evaluation criteria will be 50%, will be made up of 50% of the criteria, and it will be the reviewers will be looking at relevant experience and achievements obtained within and beyond academia. Reviewers will be looking at transcripts, past awards, scholarships, distinctions, and any professional, academic, and extracurricular activities. Next slide, please. The final award that we categorize under the Tri-Council Awards is the OGS, Ontario Graduate Scholarship, and Queen Elizabeth II Graduate Scholarships in Science and Technology. This award is partially funded by the government, by the provincial government, so Ontario, and York University. It is an award that we categorize with the QE2. The QE2 is basically the same award. However, it is basically a pocket of funds to support science and technology. It's just an additional pocket of funds to support science and technology students, but it is otherwise the same scholarship. This is a merit-based scholarship, and it's available to students in all areas of study. And it's open to master's and doctoral students. The value of this award is $15,000 per year for 1 year. It is non-renewable. However, students can hold it more than one time. So they can apply for it year after year, so long as they remain eligible. There is a lifetime maximum to hold this award. I believe it's 4 years, so you cannot hold it for more than 4 times over your entire lifetime. So if you win 1 year and you wish to apply and you remain eligible, you're welcome to apply for it again and again. You must be a full-time domestic or international master's and doctoral student. And I just want to go through the process on how to apply for the OGS and QE2. At York University, we have a combined process for Tri-Council and OGS and QE2 awards. So if you apply for any of the other Tri-Council awards, so the CGRSM or the Tri-Council doctoral awards, we will automatically use your Tri-Council award application to consider you for the OGS. So it's wonderful for you to submit the CRSM, and CGRSD application if you're eligible, because we will automatically consider you for this program here as well. Students that, for instance, have previously held a CGRSM or a CGRSD award and are no longer eligible to hold that award again, they are encouraged to submit a OGS only application to be considered for OGS. It is a more streamlined application process and shorter. And detailed instructions on how to submit your application can be found on this website on the top of this slide. Next slide, please. Here is a brief overview of other external awards that York University can assist you with. These are very well-known master's and doctoral scholarships that are funded externally. Students apply directly to them. Not all students may be eligible. The funder may wish to support students in certain areas of discipline or certain areas of research. So we do encourage students to review the instructions and the websites carefully to see who's eligible and what the evaluation criteria is as students apply directly to the funder. Again, this is just a short and short list of the external programs available to you. It is not by any means a complete list. You are still encouraged to review the York University graduate scholarships pages to search for awards that you may be eligible for. And you're also welcome to find opportunities yourself to support your research. We always encourage students to review details and information directly from the funder, as they will have the most up-to-date and accurate information and instructions. So please ensure you do that. And just a little reminder that each funder does change slightly year over year, and changes. They can change instructions, they can change deadlines. So do review that information carefully each year. Next slide, please. These are some general tips to support your success in obtaining scholarships. And it's just general good practice. We always recommend students to start early. These application processes always take longer than expected. And just as an example, for most scholarships, you would be required to arrange to have two reference letters submitted on your behalf. So arranging with your reference letter writers, that can be a process that takes more time than you expect as well. And, of course, these people that are writing reference letters, they're often professors or senior level academics. So they themselves may have a very busy professional life. So it's always good to give them ample time to prepare the reference letters for you. And also to even think of possibly backups in case people get busy. Another thing to consider is transcripts. So when you're submitting applications for scholarships, you will more than likely require transcripts. So you do have to make sure you give yourself time to collect the requisite transcripts and follow instructions. So just as an example, a lot of students assume that they don't need transcripts when they're submitting applications for scholarships in the fall term because they just started the fall term, right? But in actuality, you do need up-to-date transcripts that outline your registration up until the current date that you were submitting your application, because it helps funders confirm that you are eligible to apply under York University. Okay, so always make sure that you have up-to-date transcripts as stipulated by the funder. You also want to plan to complete all applications at least 3 days before the deadline. Unfortunately, because of the popularity of certain scholarship opportunities, a lot of students are a lot of applicants, referees, so forth, those people are trying to access the pages at the same time. And there have been in many cases where websites have crashed or stalled, and students are not able to make submissions because of web page outages. So it's really important that you get it done early. It's good practice to verify all the required materials of the application. So generally speaking, major awards will require a research statement, so an outline of your intended research. Usually it's 1 page for master's students and 2 pages for doctoral students, generally. They will ask for reference letters. Generally, it's 2. In some instances, it is 3. And transcripts. And when we talk about transcripts, we're talking about all post-secondary level transcripts. That would mean undergraduate and graduate transcripts, excuse me. And they will be looking for details about your past educational background, your past research contributions, and other documents such as a curriculum vitae. So we do encourage students to really tally up the documentation required and prepare that ahead of time. Next slide, please. Oh, that concludes my presentation. So I'm going to pass this back to Eileen Watson. Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you. I was gonna say next slide, my slide. All good. Just a couple notes. We see a lot of a lot of questions in the Q&A, which is wonderful. If you have asked a question about scholarships, Judy was really focusing on our presentation. She's now going to come in to answer those questions, so we're not ignoring it. Just sit tight and we will get back to you. As well, if you haven't been able to find the PDF that we are sharing of the presentation, which includes clickable links and emails, it is in the chat. The chat is separate from the Q&A. So You should see it if you're on a computer, it flashes orange. If you're on mobile, it should be on the bar at the bottom where you can select chat. It is the last thing that has been shared in the chat. So it's not buried in Q&A answers. It's available in the chat. Okay, so turning now to three other alternative forms of financial support, bursaries. So we do offer bursaries through the Faculty of Graduate Studies. You can apply for these once you start your program in September, and the deadline is end of January. So these are for the Central Faculty of Graduate Studies bursaries. If you are applying to a program bursary, they may have different deadlines, different criteria. For bursaries, these are only open to full-time graduate students. You would need to demonstrate financial need, by which basically you need to fill out a needs assessment every term. Bursaries are usually no more than $1,000 per year, which I mean won't fully make a tuition payment, but it is a huge help, especially later on in the year as your funds may start to go down. Disbursement will happen in the winter. So with the application being due in January, then at some point during the winter, if you are approved, you would receive those dollars. Next up is OSAP, so the Ontario Student Assistance Program. You can apply for this if you are a domestic student, so a Canadian citizen or permanent resident who resides here in Ontario. Now, it's a little bit tricky because let's say you came from another province or territory and you did your undergraduate degree in Ontario. Those years that you spent studying here do not count towards residency of Ontario. So if you're in that situation or you're freshly coming from a new or a different province or territory, you need to apply through your home province's aid program. So whether that's BC, Nova Scotia, you can apply for funds from your home province and use them to study in Ontario. OSAP is made up of grants and loans dispersed by the Government of Ontario and the Government of Canada. The funds that you receive are based on your personal financial situation. When you apply, you're filling out answering various questions about what your income is. If you are less than 6 years out of high school, you will be inputting parental or guardian income information. If you are if you have a spouse, if you have dependents, you would enter those kinds of things as well. The application also asks for various assets that you have. That's not like your house or your car or anything, but more so, do you have an RESP? Are you receiving any other form of financial support? That kind of thing. So you're putting your income, potentially others' income. They have the cost of the program as part of the application, and then it will calculate. They have an algorithm for grants and loans. Many graduate students utilize OSAP in addition to a funding package, scholarships, potentially bursaries, etc. The application for fall 2026 for OSAP is now open. So if you go to that OSAP webpage, clickable if you open the PDF in the chat, you can actually apply for fall now. That's open. There were some changes that were announced to OSAP, as you may have heard or may have experienced. The balance of grants and loans is changing. When you go through the OSAP website, you are able to do an estimate. So you input your programs, details about yourself, and it will tell you you can potentially qualify for these grants and loans. If you want, you can only choose to accept the grants. That's up to you. But loans you would have to pay back. When you're applying for OSAP, they also have you do a quiz, basically, about your financial savvy, just making sure that you know what credit, debt, loan repayment, all of that is. If you are a master's student, you are eligible to receive 320 study weeks total of OSAP. If you are a PhD student, it is 400. And then last up, Dimitri had touched on this as well, research assistantships. So they're not work in the way that a TA or GA role is, but basically it is activities performed by full-time students doing research that is going towards fulfillment of your degree. So there's no hour limits, hourly wages set, time limits set, there's no benefits. It's non-employment income, so it's not taxable. There are some financial supports we haven't mentioned here because they aren't done in conjunction with the university or in conjunction with the university and the government, private loans. So whether that's through your local bank or credit union, or there are some international companies that offer international loans as well. But that's really the end of the formal slide deck. Just before we turn full time to the Q&A, I'll do a plug for the Faculty of Graduate Studies social media channels. So we have Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. In particular, for incoming students, LinkedIn, the communications team is running giveaways for incoming students. So if you follow them this summer, there's the opportunity to win various prizes. And then the contact details for relevant departments in the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Your first point of contact is always going to be your graduate program. So for academic questions, that's the graduate program director. For administrative and logistic questions, that's your graduate program assistant or coordinator or administrator. But if you have admission inquiries, like fulfilling your conditions, you can reach us at FGS Supply. For scholarship questions for Judy and her team, you can email askfgs@yorku.ca. And then for anything to do with funding packages, the email is fgsinfo@yorku.ca. So with that being said, it's time for questions. We have some in the Q&A. And so let's turn to that now.